as the moderator and chair, I have the privilege to make some closing remarks, and I want to share my own thoughts with all of you. So I spoke about the elephant, right? And the reason I spoke about the elephant rather than the gorilla in the room is I remembered a poem. I don't know if Sadhna, because you have some Indian connection, maybe in the past, has heard of this poem, Six Blind Men and the Elephant. We all learned that in school, right? So the problem is, the elephant is, when you see the elephant, you can describe it well. But imagine if you're blind. Somebody thinks the elephant is a sword. Somebody thinks the elephant is a rope. Somebody thinks the elephant is a wall, because that's what they are seeing at that point in time. The problem of digital pedagogy is precisely that. And I want to highlight the six blind men who are there, maybe in this room and maybe outside this room. We need to understand six different things. And unless we bring the understanding of all these six things together, you will not make sense. And I think that is the discussion we need to have. The first blind man is touching something called educational aims. Because I think Sadhna spoke in the beginning that it's not the input really that we're worried about. We're worried about where do we want to reach. And that is not defined by anybody and everybody. It's called educational aims. NCF 2005 has an entire position paper called Aims of Education. And aims of education is not simply the child becoming literate, not simply the child becoming knowing language and math. It's much more profound than that. There are public aims to education, which is why there is public investment. The government is not worried about what shampoo you use or don't use. It doesn't care. But it cares about what school system we have in this country, because the school system is not for the children to get jobs. The school system is about building a better society than we have today. That is the primary aim of education. We miss that out when we do very automated, kind of very small kind of technology use for very minute tasks. We forget the larger goals of education. So that's the first blind man. So that the philosophy of education is the first blind man. The second blind man is the pedagogy, which is the teaching learning processes. And I think Shreya asked the question that's always on my mind. We keep saying teacher is the center, teacher is the center, then say PAL. And to my mind, these are contradictory. We need to be able to honestly say that if teacher is at the center, you cannot put a system in the child's hand and say the child is going to adaptively learn. The child, somebody said, if you ask the child to go to McDonald's, they are not going to order salad. They're going to order chips, and that's what the child's mind is. So imagining that somehow the child will direct its own learning contradicts all the philosophy that we have, psychological theories of learning that we have had right from Vygotsky days. So that's the second blind man. Third blind man is what I asked Archana ji. The system, education is highly complex. There are levels. And Krishna Kumar, who's the NCERT ex-director, says, we say technology for education, lower primary, higher primary, secondary, senior secondary, every level, the requirements are so different. The teacher education needs are so different that without considering that, we cannot go ahead. The fourth blind man is the government system. The government system, because it has to be run by the government has its own accountability to the public in ways that we cannot even imagine. And it operates not necessarily in good ways. So understanding the government system, understanding accountability to the people, understanding political issues is the fourth blind man. The fifth blind man is the social context that we have. Culture, language, all these are a part of it. What works in Gautam Budh Nagar will not work in Madurai. And I'm sorry if I can be slightly critical, we imagine that we get few teachers from Delhi and few students from Delhi, and we imagine that is India. Delhi is not India. Bangalore is not India. Bidar is not India. We need to understand the social complexities of what we're dealing with. If we ignore it, then that's the fifth blind man. The sixth and the last blind man is, to my mind, the least important, which is technology. And we somehow put technology as the first part of this whole puzzle. And I want to respond to what Gauri said. We somehow equate private sector innovation with proprietization. They are not different. They're not the same. We have Raspberry Pi here, which is private sector, which makes products. But what is the problem with Mindspark or with Google? They own the thing that they give to the system, and the ownership is still with them. EI can withdraw after 3 years. If tomorrow EI closes, the schools have to stop using the technology, because unlike a Diksha or unlike anything that's publicly owned, or a Raspberry Pi or a Ubuntu, which is made by a company, which is in the private sector company called Canonical. So we need to distinguish between proprietization and private initiative. Private initiatives are welcome, but technology allows you to proprietize, which is not there in any other sector. You must understand that Godrej will supply cupboards to the school. Somebody comes and builds blackboards. Once that is done, that is the property of the school and the system. And can we introduce a resource in the system which is not owned by the system is a question that all of us have to consider. Apart from privatization, there are two big dangers of technology. One is centralization. And that's why I said we imagine technology is a pipe. NCRT and CIT know everything that's good for the country. No, it won't work like that, right? Every single teacher in every single school has to own up technology, only then it will work. Commercialization of education, privatization is a very serious concern that educators keep highlighting time and again. Technology is the most powerful force for commercializing education. And if that is how it's going to work, It's not that I'm, an ideological person who's saying something radical. These are the six blind men. So unless the six blind men come together, talk to one another, we are not going to see the elephant as it is. Thank you. So first thing I want to understand is artificial intelligence is not intelligence. And I think I would urge everyone to read some write-up by a person called Neil Postman. Neil Postman wrote 25 years back before computers were even popular. But what he wrote about technology 25 years back, he was talking about television, he was talking about radio. But what he talked about, he says intelligence is a very complex idea. And we think IQ, he actually says IQ is a very problematic term because we equate Sam's IQ is 250, Guru's IQ is 300. It's meaningless because IQ is far too complex. What we call AI is what I'm a techie basically. I worked in the tech sector for 15 years. In 2000, we were doing something we call BI then, business intelligence, which is simply look at data, make predictions. That's what AI does. There is no intelligence in AI. And the word purposely we use intelligence because somebody benefits from it. Let's understand that. That's what he was talking about. The point I want to make is Khan Academy created OER, gave to everybody. I download the OER, it belongs to me. Khan Academy has gone to ChatGPT owned by Microsoft to give us AI. Now let's say the product is very useless, you don't have to worry. But if it's very good, hundreds and thousands of schools in this country are going to be dependent on it. And then Microsoft will decide one day that you have to pay me $1 million or I won't give it to you. Or Microsoft will close down and schools will collapse. The good thing is, while Khan Academy goes to Microsoft, NCRT goes to Google. So we are under a very good situation where Google and Microsoft, we had British rulers the country and now we are dividing the country. Google, one thing I just want to very quickly say, we can't trust anything we can't see. Only when you see it, you know whether you can trust it or not. You imagine that in an Android phone you can set location off and location won't be tracked. Google was fined by the EU because after you say location is not to be tracked, they still track your location. You can't see the code. You are blind. We are all blind men in a room. Somebody can see what we are doing. That's called panopticon. Please read Jeremy Bentham. Thank you. Thank you, Guru.